tracking it all for
You're
me.
watching News Channel 2 at sunrise with Gary Liberator.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Friday. I'm Gary Liberator.
Yeah, I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And we were just mentioning a repeat of the other day. Maybe the timing a little off, but pretty similar, right?
Yeah, pretty similar. Winds not as strong, and the initial round of the rain and snow looks to arrive after the evening rush hour. So on the Tuesday storm, it was difficult because, of course, people were traveling home and we had some nasty roads. For those of you wondering, there will be no travel impacts for your morning and evening commute. This happens later on in the night. But regardless, it's going to be a very similar system with some wet snow on the hilltops and starting out as rain in the lower elevations, then eventually over to wet snow. But first, taking a live look outside downtown Utica from our Nexus camera, we're seeing some wet roads, light drizzle taking place from a lake effect. Currently it is 32 degrees, hovering right around freezing in the valley. As you can see right there, that very thin line stretching from us. We go all the way down to just south of Albany, producing a few lingering flurries and light drizzle right there. Those current local temperatures in the valley, right around freezing, 34. Little Falls, 31, Whitesboro, 25. A little cooler as you head up into Big Moose, in 27 in Inlet. And the Southern Valley is still right around freezing, 35. Cooperstown, 31. Skanevis, 30 degrees in Oneonta. And for today, we'll see some partial clearing of the clouds as more upper-level, milky, thin clouds move in from that low-pressure system arriving, bringing those winds this evening and into tonight. And we are timing it all out. We're talking about snowfall potential and the exact times when things do arrive in detail coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning. It's time for your morning commute cast. First off, taking a live look at downtown Utica right now. Currently it is 32 degrees, right around freezing, with some drizzle moving through parts of the area. But as you can see, the roads are looking wet, but for the most part, pretty clear. Then taking a look in downtown Cooperstown in the Southern Valleys, temperatures down there 35 degrees. So roads, again, wet, but we're not expecting any travel issues as you head down into the Southern Valleys. And then finally, taking a look at other cameras across both the I-90 corridor as well as Route 20, Arterial and Genesee Street, seeing wet roads across the area. Again, no travel impacts are expected, aside for some hilltops that could see at least a little bit of that wet slush still sticking around in some parts. But again, lower elevations, main roads should be okay. And so for your morning and your evening commute, and cloudy skies this morning, mostly cloudy this evening. The wet snow and rain and wind doesn't arrive until after your evening commute. I'll, of course, time it all out in that full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. One local school district says...
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back. Happy Friday. Weather turns quiet for today. Before our next active weather maker returns, has been a pretty active stretch of weather over the past week or so. Live look at downtown Utica from our Nexus camera. Wet roads, some fog, and the higher elevations from those low-level clouds. But for the most part, we're looking at no at least serious travel issues as you head out the door today. Temperature 33 degrees with cloudy skies at Rome with calm winds. And a look at those temperatures for today, climbing into the mid, possibly upper 40s or upper 30s, depending on that cloud cover this afternoon. We're thinking the thin clouds from the low pressure system to the south will keep things mostly cloudy. And regarding those wind speeds, it'll still remain relatively calm until about this evening, 6-7 p.m. when those wind speeds start to pick up. And this is all due to an approaching system that looks eerily similar to what we saw on Tuesday and Wednesday, with a very similar setup to that as well, with wet snow, rain, and strong winds from this western runner. And regarding wind gusts, the latest data came in. It's not looking to be as strong, with those less strong winds aloft between 35 and 55 mile per hour gusts, and primarily in the higher elevations. However, there is still a concern for outages with that saturated soil with all the rain and melt we've been seeing, and as well as that southeasterly wind. Now, the live radar, we're seeing that way out to the southwest, and here locally, we're just dealing with some light lingering lake effect drizzle here in the Mohawk Valley, as that will gradually come to an end as the morning progresses. And so, looking at our skycast for today, again, lingering drizzle make way for some clearing skies as those high-level clouds move in by the late morning to early afternoon. 7 p.m., things are still looking quiet. However, the surface temperatures play a key role in how things shape up tonight. This system moves through, bringing wet snow. I'm thinking starting out as rain in the Mohawk Valley, lower elevations, before it switches over to entirely snow by around midnight, and then finally back over to rain as we head into the evening hours, or the overnight hours. Then by 7 a.m., lingering rain showers, temperatures warming up into near 40 in the Mohawk Valley, and then sets up some lake effect. It's a pretty strong lake effect, not here in the Mohawk Valley in south, but primarily in the Tug Hill Plateau. This will set up a little bit Saturday, but then on Sunday, the lake effect machine kicks in full force in the Tug Hill Plateau, seeing that very dark snow band right there. This will also produce a good amount of snow in the Buffalo area, of course, just in time for the playoffs against the Steelers. Regarding snowfall here locally, we're thinking trace to 2 inches in the lower elevations south of I-90, 2 to 4 north, and 4 to 8 in the High Peaks region. Very similar to our snowfall forecast on a Tuesday night and into Wednesday. And again for today, highs in the mid-30s, mostly cloudy, peaks of sunshine tonight. Wet snow and some rain showers depending on elevation with windy conditions. And again, alert day, if you want to call alert night for tonight, then into early tomorrow, things should be winding down by Saturday morning. Then the winds pick up again Saturday evening. They're more westerly and they won't be as strong, so it's not too much of a concern, but of course they are going to be strong winds, so if you're driving on the roads, might have your car swerve a little bit.
That's for sure. It finally feels like winter, doesn't it?
Yeah, after this weekend, definitely feeling like winter.
That's for sure. Eric, thanks. The time right now is 5:23:24.
Now, you're watching News Channel 2 at sunrise with Gary Liberator.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberator.
Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And not too bad out there this morning. It seems like it's actually a little warmer than the past couple days.
Yeah, pretty mild. I went outside. It was drizzling out a little bit as I headed to work, and roads a little wet, but for the most part, a little quiet. Those wondering, because we've obviously been talking about the wet snow winds arriving tonight. It looks to arrive after the evening rush hour. So
that's a good thing.
There shouldn't be any travel impacts for your morning and evening commute. First, though, taking a look outside from across central New York on the Mesonet Camera Network. We can see some drizzle falling here and there. As a matter of fact, Westmoreland picking up some as well. Notice all that wet snow up in the Tug Hill area near Redfield and Osceola. But of course, some rain showers taking place, even just a few flurries heading into the lower or higher elevations. Winter weather alerts. There's a weather advisory for northern Herkimer County and a winter storm warning for Hamilton County, but those are the only immediate warnings. There is a lake effect warning for Lewis County with that lake effect snow expected over the weekend. But again, nothing warning-wise is currently in the Mohawk Valley. Drizzle and flurries, as you can see on the radar right now, as temperatures are still in the low 30s, right around freezing. 33 Westmoreland, 34 degrees Little Falls. Southern Valleys, 30s as well. And today, again, warming up into the mid to possibly upper 40s, upper 30s in lower elevations with mostly cloudy skies. Things remain quiet until the overnight hours tonight. We're tracking that wet snow, rain, and wind. Full details on that coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Turning to Decision 2024 now.
Good morning, welcome back. Happy Friday. This week we have shown a variety of pictures here on News Channel 2 at sunrise, ranging from a 15-foot snowman to even a snow buffalo, as well as a very cute puffy bird in the cold weather. But today we're going back to a nice sunrise. Take a look at this picture sent in by Crystal in Boonville. Look at that shot right there with the wet snow in the trees and the colorful yellowish orange sunrise in the background. This, of course, will be shared on our Facebook page as well as Twitter, if you want to call it X, this afternoon. And if you want your picture shown here on News Channel 2 at sunrise, or also on social media from our news side of things, send it to WKTV.com/weather/pics. And we'll go through and see if you want to pick your picture to be shown here on sunrise. A live look at the radar right now. We're seeing a very thin line of flurries and drizzle. You can make it out just south of Utica right there, that white line. That is going to be weakening as the morning progresses and things quiet down this afternoon with mostly cloudy skies. We are tracking some wet snow and rain developing after the rush hour this evening into the overnight hours with, of course, strong winds. We'll explain that in our full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. The plain section that blew up.
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Happy Friday. An active week of weather so far this week, and things turn active yet again tonight. But we do get a break for this afternoon. A live look at downtown Utica right now. We're dealing with some drizzle in parts of the area, wet roads, and a few flurries here and there, but for the most part, not expecting any travel impacts as you head out the door this morning. Some higher elevations, could still see some of that slush on the road from that snow last night. But again, in the Mohawk Valley, 33 degrees with calm winds, cloudy skies, and some light drizzle. Not looking too bad out there as you head out the door. Those temperatures this morning warming up into the mid to even possibly upper 30s in lower elevations. And regarding those wind speeds, the winds will remain calm and slightly breezy until about this evening. 5-6 p.m. winds will pick up a little bit and remain strongest as we head into the overnight hours around midnight. And a very similar setup to what we saw Tuesday night and into Wednesday is arriving yet again tonight and into early tomorrow. We got a strong low pressure to our southwest, bringing a round of some wet snow, rain, and wind to our area. So when does the wind arrive? Well, winds will be the strongest during the overnight hours between around 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. You can see wind gusts between 35 and 55 miles per hour. Slightly less windy than last time as there's a little bit less stronger winds aloft. There will be more breezy conditions as we head throughout the day Saturday. The morning looking calm, but the evening looking a bit windy as well. And here's where it is right now on the radar, way out to parts of Illinois, just south of Chicago, and then moving into parts of Cincinnati. But here locally, we're just dealing with a single line of lake effect drizzle and flurries moving through parts of the Mohawk Valley. And so for today, that drizzle and flurries come to an end with some clearing this afternoon as those high-level clouds mix in from the south. Then heading into this evening, again, your evening commute looking quiet, but we're monitoring these surface temperatures here as wet snow starts to move in, possibly starting out as rain in the Mohawk Valley before switching over to wet snow for pretty much all of central New York briefly, and then eventually over to all rain by the overnight hours. Then that switches over to some snow showers in the North Country, with temperatures starting out in the 40s Saturday morning, then cooling down throughout the day. Then the lake effect machine goes into full force in the Tug Hill Plateau, heading into Sunday. You can see just how dark blue some of those colors do get. This is the same system that could bring a pretty good whiteout to the Buffalo game out in Buffalo as they play the playoffs against the Steelers. And regarding snowfall for this afternoon, this evening and tonight, trace of 2 inches in the I-90 corridor in south, 2 to 4 north, but the amounts really won't matter. This will all melt by the early morning hours tomorrow.
This is a weekly test of the emergency alert system. This station is testing equipment that can quickly warn you in the event of an emergency.
You're watching News Channel 2 at sunrise with Gary Liberator.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gary Liberator.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And yet our third storm in about a week after we didn't have any for like a month, it seemed, right?
Yeah, that's right. The snow kept missing us. We kept getting the rain, and then eventually winter's like, You know what? It's time for you guys to get a bit of winter. And for this system, for those of you wondering, it will affect the morning evening commute. This will not affect the morning or evening commute. This is going to arrive a little bit later than what we saw on Tuesday and into Wednesday. But similar type risks, gusty winds, possible wind damage and outages, wet snow, rain, all that sort. First, though, as you head out the door this morning, we're dealing with some drizzle and a few flurries as we take a look across central New York on the Mesnet Camera Network. Notice a few flurries and drizzle falling right now in Westmoreland. Weather alerts, we got winter weather advisory in Old Forge in northern Herkimer County, a winter storm warning in Hamilton County, and then a lake effect warning up in Lewis County. That's where the primary snowfall will fall over the next 48 to 72 hours. It will be really lacking as you head down the North Country into the Mohawk Valley and south. Live look at the radar, we're dealing with a single band of lake effect flurries and drizzle. As you can see right there, that thin white line, and those temperatures this morning hovering right around freezing in the valley, 33 Westmoreland, 34 Little Falls, in the 20s in North Country, and in the low 30s as you head into the southern valleys. And for today, warming up into the mid-30s with mostly cloudy skies as we approach the evening hours. After sunset, and of course after the evening rush hour, it will begin as wet snow, turning over to rain the overnight hours into early Saturday morning. And we have a look at the timing and who sees the rain and snow, and in detail on that coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. A Utica.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning. Looking at your morning and evening commute cast as you head out the door today. Starting out, a live look at the radar. We're seeing a single band of lake effect snow, light snow and drizzle moving through parts of the Mohawk Valley. This will weaken and then eventually come to an end by the mid-morning. And as you can see here in downtown Utica, a little misty with some fog in the higher elevations, with temperatures at 32 degrees officially in Utica, and a little cooler as you head up in the higher elevations, especially up in North Utica, where on the hilltops there is still some snow on the roads. Live look in Cooperstown, we're still seeing some wet roads down there as well, however a little warmer, 35 degrees, the temperature as of this morning. And lastly, taking a look across parts of Utica, I-90, and of course down Bridgewater, you can see that Route 8, Route 20, looking clear with some wet roads. Same for the arterial as you look down there as well. The Genesee Route 5 and 12 connection right there, roads looking fine. And of course, I-90 also looking clear as well for this morning and of course for this evening. Gary?
Eric, thank you. One local school district says it is getting a fall.
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, welcome back. Happy Friday. Today is going to remain relatively quiet during the daytime. However, things will turn more active as we approach the overnight hours. A live look at downtown Utica from our Nexus camera. We're seeing some wet roads from some lingering drizzle this morning due to lake effect and some flurries as we head up in the higher elevations. But as you can see here, no travel impacts are expected in the lowest elevations. There could still be some snow on untreated roads on the hilltops. Calm winds right now and relatively calm winds throughout the day today. However, those winds will start to pick up as you approach the overnight hours. Temperatures also climbing up into the mid-30s by this afternoon. And regarding those wind speeds, we can see right here, winds remaining relatively calm until 5, 6 p.m., being a little bit gusty, and then the strongest during the overnight hours. A very similar setup to what we saw Tuesday and into Wednesday, with a very strong low pressure to the west of us, pushing through northwest of us into Canada, and of course the strongest zone of winds setting up directly over central New York. And the same thing with wet snow and rain being the primary weather maker for this event. Regarding wind gusts, winds remaining relatively calm this morning, picking up this afternoon and this evening, and then overnight. Strongest wind gusts between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. between 35 and 55 miles per hour. A little bit less windy than the last event with less strong winds aloft, but still it's enough with those southeasterly winds to cause, unfortunately, more isolated power outages and wind damage on trees that aren't used to seeing those strong winds from that direction. And a live look at the radar, we can see that system all the way out currently in the Midwest, slowly approaching the Northeast. But here locally right now, we're only dealing with just a single line of some lake effect flurries and drizzle, as you can see right here. And for today, that'll be the only real weather system during the daytime hours we'll be expecting, as we call it daytime because by the late morning, early morning, things should be drying out as winds shift more to the south and to the east. You can see those temperatures in the valley climbing up to the mid to even upper 30s. And with the system arriving tonight, again, arrives after the evening rush hour. No travel impacts expected from this until around 7, 8, 9 p.m. when this system starts to push through. Starting out as rain, I'm thinking, in the lowest elevations before it finally switches over to wet snow for all of central New York around midnight. And then that warm air continues to surge in, and it turns over to all rain by early Saturday morning. Saturday morning starting out in the 40s, could approach near 50 in the southern valleys. And then regarding snowfall, same exact idea like what we saw on Tuesday night and into Wednesday. And even though we're going to see these types of totals, this isn't going to stick around. This is going to melt as it switches over to rain during the overnight hours. And so for today, highs in the mid-30s, mostly cloudy, some peaks of sunshine tonight. Rain and wet snow, windy conditions, a low of 35 degrees. Your 7-day forecast, alert night in effect for tonight. Things quiet down a little bit on Saturday. Winds pick up again Saturday evening from the west, not nearly as strong, but enough to remain fairly windy. And then we're talking about lake effect. Pretty strong lake effect north of our area heading into Sunday.
Wow, an active weekend to say the least, right? Wow.
Yep.
Eric, thanks. Be sure to like us on Facebook and...
Now, you're watching News Channel 2 at sunrise with Gary Liberator.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberator.
Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And get ready for the next one, right? The third in a week. It keeps you busy over there in the Weather Center.
Yeah, very busy. And this morning, not too bad as you head out. Some light drizzle, light flurries here and there. And for those wondering about the system that's arriving, the wind, the rain, the wet snow, doesn't arrive until after the evening commute. So during the daytime today, no impacts are expected as you head out the door. Now, what we're expecting this morning is look at the current conditions across central New York. A live view from the Mesonet network. We're seeing some drizzle falling here and there. Looks like flurries and light snow in Westmoreland. I'm leaning more towards a drizzle with the temperature right there. Looking at the live radar right now, we're dealing with some lingering lake effect, drizzle and flurries here and there. As you can see here, just on the that very thin line moving into the Mohawk Valley. And those local temperatures as you head out the door in the 30s, 33 Westmoreland, 34 Little Falls, a little cooler as you head up in the North Country, 25 Big Moose, 27 degrees in Inlet. And in the southern valleys, 35 Cooperstown, 30 Skenevis, Norwich, and Unadilla down I-88. And for today, high temperatures climbing into the mid-30s with mostly cloudy skies. Again, quiet weather sticks around for today and this afternoon. Then after sunset, after the evening rush hour, and when the timing between 7 and 9 p.m. is when things start to get a little bit active with rain showers, wet snow, and of course, those strong wind gusts. We are timing it out. We're letting you know who sees the wet snow, who sees the rain, and when it does arrive in detail coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Turning to Decision 2024.
Good morning. Welcome back. Throughout this week, we have shown very cool pictures, both of 15 feet snowmen, a snow buffalo, of course, some animals enjoying the snow outside. And today, we are wrapping up the final weekday of this week with a beautiful shot of the winter sunrise in Boonville. This was taken by Crystal. If you would like your photo here on News Channel 2 at sunrise, as well as post on our social media pages on Facebook and on X, you can submit it to WKTV.com/weather/pics. We will accept anything ranging from animals out enjoying the weather do a shot like this of a sunrise, a rainbow, sunsets, or just anything weather related that you think you took a good picture of. We'll see if we can show it on here on News Channel 2 at sunrise. A live look at the radar right now. We are seeing a single band of light lake effect drizzle and flurries in that white line just north of Cooperstown on the Herkimer-Otsego County border. And this is coming to an end, and things do dry out this afternoon before we are tracking it again, or another active weather system with wind, wet snow, and rain coming up tonight. Full details on that straight ahead. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Some sad news to pass along this morning. A former
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back. Happy Friday. This morning we are dealing with some light mist, flurries, some of those flakes a bit on the larger side as lake effect slowly comes to an end. Here's a live look at downtown Utica from our Nexus camera. A little misty with some fog in the higher elevations, but the roads are looking clear, especially as you can see here on Oriskany. In the higher elevations north, some of the roads are still a bit snow covered, especially on untreated roads. Sky watchers this morning checking in the 30s in Mohawk Valley, 33 degrees with Mike in New Hartford, 32 as we head out to Westdale. Heading up into the North Country with Bill and Sean, 26 and 27 degrees. And then heading into the Southern Valleys, Stewart and Cooperstown, 32. Deb Hartwick, 31. Mark and Milford, 33. Tom Lawrence, 31. Scott and Evanston with 32 degrees. Today we warm up a little bit. Not by much, but enough to rise above freezing into the mid-30s. And then dealing with wind speeds for today, a little breezy in the evening hours, but throughout the early part of the day, not too bad. The winds become much more strong as we approach the overnight hours between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Now, this system is very similar to what we saw on Tuesday. A strong low pressure south and west of us, following that track northeast, and here locally, wet snow, rain, and strong winds being the primary concern. And as you can see here, the wind gusts, the winds don't get too strong until around 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. And with these winds, they're slightly less strong than the last system with less strong winds aloft, but still enough to produce the chance for some power outages as well as some wind damage, especially those weakened trees that aren't used to these southeasterly winds. And of course, the saturated soil does not help as well. Winds pick up once more Saturday evening, as you can see here, gusts between 20 and 35 miles per hour. Live radar, we can see the system all the way out to the Midwest, slowly moving its way into the Northeast, and timing it out in a little bit. But first, a live look at our radar, we can see that very thin lake effect snow and drizzle band moving through parts of central New York. So looking at our skycast for today, that band does come to an end. Things do quiet down. We get a more easterly wind and warming up into the mid-30s by the evening hours. If you're heading home from work, again, this won't be happening during the evening commute until around the earliest 7 p.m. in the Southern Valleys and then around 9 p.m. onwards for areas north. And it will likely start out as rain in the I-90 corridor before switching over to wet snow during around midnight, and then eventually back over to entirely rain by the early overnight hours. And regarding snowfall, we're thinking not a lot anyways here in the I-90 corridor. Trace 2 inches south, 2 to 4 inches north. High peaks in the Adirondacks, we'll see a little bit more. But regardless of these totals, these will not stick around as it turns over to rain for the most part during the overnight hours. And so for today, highs in the mid-30s, mostly cloudy, peaks of sunshine tonight, a low of 35 with rain, wet snow, and windy conditions. Your 7-day forecast, alert night for tonight and early tomorrow. Then some lingering winds heading into Saturday evening. Then we're talking about lake effect snow north of our area near Watertown and the Tug Hill Plateau on Sunday and into Monday.
Now, you're watching News Channel 2 at 7 a.m. on CW 11 with Gary Liberatore.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the CW11. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And get ready for round 3 of the past week with another storm getting ready to hit us.
Yeah, that's right. We got a storm coming. It's going to be arriving in the evening, overnight hours, not impacting the evening commute. And for those wondering the weather for today, again, quiet this morning, quiet this evening, then the winds, wet snow, and eventual rain showers. So a bit of an active weather pattern we're in, at least for the past week or so. And a look at what to expect outside this morning. We've got some wet snow, light snow, falling with some lake effect. You can see in some locations in Herkimer. It's treading a fine line between wet snow and drizzle and rain, but as of now, expect possibly seeing that for some locations. And some winter weather alerts on our system right now. We've got winter weather advisories for northern Herkimer County, a winter storm warning in pink for Hamilton County, and a lake effect warning for portions of Lewis County, all with the main reasoning being some accumulating snow over the next 48 to 72 hours. But regardless, anywhere south isn't expected to pick up a lot over the next several days. Live radar showing some drizzle and flurries moving through from a single very thin lake effect band coming off of Lake Ontario. And in the Mohawk Valley, 30s the temperature, 20s as you head up north into the southern valleys, 20s and 30s, 35 Cooperstown, 28 degrees in Norwich. And for today, highs in the mid-30s with mostly cloudy skies. As we head into this evening, weather turns active once again with windy conditions, wet snow and rain dependent on elevation. We'll explain who sees what and when in detail coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And don't forget the Storm Tracker 2 forecast, never more than 10 minutes away. Well, the Utica Man is facing charges after
Central New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back. Happy Friday. This morning we're dealing with some lingering drizzle and flurries from lake effect, but other than that, the rest of the year, just seeing mostly cloudy skies. A live look at our Cappy Tower camera. We're seeing that snow, wet snow accumulated on the hilltops here north of Utica, but as we turn our attention to the lower elevations, a different story. Wet roads, no travel impacts are expected in the lower elevations as you head out the door. Those temperatures this morning in the 30s in the valley, 33 Cooperstown, 32 as we head out to Westdale. In the North Country, 26, 27 with Old Forge Inlet. In the southern valleys, 32 Cooperstown, 33 Milford, 31 Hartwick, and Lawrence, 32 degrees in Edmiston. For today, those temperatures climb into the mid to possibly upper 30s. And with the wind speeds, winds remain relatively calm this morning until winds pick up by the evening hours. 5, 6 p.m., then the strongest winds between 11 and 1 a.m. The bigger picture, a similar setup to what we saw on Tuesday. We've got a strong low pressure out to the west, bringing in wet snow, rain, and strong wind gusts to our area, primarily on the hilltops. And looking at those wind gusts, a bit less strong than the last system, between 35 and 55 miles per hour. Again, on those hilltops, the highest chance of seeing any wind damage or power outages. But this is not the only wind with this system. The back end of this will also produce some gusty winds from the west, but we're not looking to see any wind damage from that backing wind. Live look at the radar. We're seeing this system out to the southwest near the midwestern part of the U.S., pushing into the northeast. And here locally, the only thing on the radar right now is just a single lake effect cloud band producing some flurries and drizzle in the lowest elevations. Your skycast for today, again, that's the only active weather we're going to be seeing for the most part. Things quiet down this afternoon, some peaks of sunshine possible with clouds increasing from that system in the southwest. Your evening commute also looking okay. You're not going to be dealing with wet snow for your travel back from home from work from 5 to 6 p.m. The snow begins to arrive at the very earliest 7 p.m. in the southern portion of our area, lingering to 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. into 10 p.m. Starting out as possibly rain in lowest elevations, switching over to all snow by around midnight, and then eventually all over to rain yet again by the early morning hours on Saturday, with temperatures starting out in the low 40s. And regarding snowfall, similar snowfall map that we saw on Tuesday. Trace to 2 south, 2 to 4 north, 4 to 8 entering the high peaks in the Adirondacks. But again, don't expect this to stick around too much with that turning all over to rain by the early morning hours on Saturday. For today, high 38 degrees, mostly cloudy, peaks of sunshine tonight, a low of 35. Rain and windy conditions with snow. 7-day forecast, windy overnight tonight, drying out a little bit, by the early afternoon, then windy conditions Saturday evening, then lake effect snow picks up by Sunday, especially north near the Tug Hill Plateau.
Watching News Channel 2 at noon with Gary Liberator.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We begin with the latest on the third winter storm of the week that will be making its way into the Mohawk Valley later today. Meteorologist Eric Gage is tracking this latest system in the Weather Center. Good afternoon once again, Eric.
Good afternoon, Gary. Yeah, that's right. We've been tracking this another windstorm, winter storm, whatever storm you want to call it, heading into our area into tonight. And the difference with this one compared to the one we saw Tuesday night and early Wednesday is this will not impact the evening commute. This will be arriving later on in the night, so we're not expecting any travel impacts. That was one of the main concerns for our alert day on Tuesday. But as you can see here, quiet on the radar right now. Zooming out a little bit, we can see where it is right now. It is currently just pushing into portions of Ohio, entering southern Pennsylvania within the next few hours. And with this system, we'll bring with it some rain, some wet snow, and the potential for some damaging winds. Not as high of a risk as what we saw over on Tuesday night and early Wednesday. Currently 36 Oneonta, milky skies from these clouds moving from the south, but seeing some plentiful sunshine moving into parts of central New York. And for today, high temperatures already climbing into the mid to upper 30s with that sunshine. And heading into this evening, cooling down a little bit as the winter storm starts to arrive, starting out as rain, then over to wet snow, then back over to rain again. Of course, I'll explain who sees what in detail coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Jaleel Chapman, the
WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Happy Friday. The weekend is here, and with it, quiet weather. It's pretty much been a pleasant Friday aside from some morning snow in some isolated locations. Currently, it is 37 degrees at Griffiths and Rome right now with sunshine peeking out and winds, although breezy, not too bad. But notice they're more easterly now as this low pressure system starts to influence our local weather, bringing in this warmer temperature already in the upper 30s in some locations near 40. Now we're going to be the warmest today for the next few hours, cooling down a little bit as the sun continues to set, but hovering in the mid 30s right before this wintry system starts to move in. Regarding the winds a little breezy this afternoon, but they do continue to pick up in the late evening, the overnight hours, 9, 10, 11 p.m. That's when those strongest wind gusts will start to form. And talking about when the precipitation does arrive, well, look at this right here. Dry until the late evening after sunset. Of course, 9 to 11 p.m. is the most likely time of us here in the Mohawk Valley of seeing precipitation start to fall. And so again, the timeline, no issues expected for evening commute. Wet snow, rain in some locations, especially in the valley, arrives later tonight. It turns over to all wet snow, and then still windy conditions, and then finally back over to rain with the windy conditions overnight tonight. Now look at these wind speeds, still a little bit less windy than the last system on Tuesday, but still enough to cause some isolated power outages and wind damage with that strong southeasterly wind, with winds gusts between 35 and 55 miles per hour. After the initial round of wind, we're going to be seeing more windy conditions. Not as breezy, but still westerly winds from the trailing end of the system throughout the evening on Saturday. So a bit windy heading tonight and tomorrow. Here's a look at where the system is right now, and the path of this system will continue to push north, again producing that initial round of rain and wet snow over to all rain as those warmer temperatures start to move in, and then eventually all over to dry conditions briefly by early Saturday. And so in our skycast for today, again, increasing clouds this evening, still looking dry and no impacts expected as you head home from work today. Then as we approach the overnight hours, 9 to 11 p.m., that's when it starts as snow, maybe some rain mixing in with those warmer valley temperatures before turning all over to wet snow. then back over to rain once the warmer temperatures continue to push in from the southeast. So 7 a.m. Saturday, drying out a little bit, still some spots of rain showers with temperatures starting out in the 40s, then cooling down throughout the day as we are starting to see some light lake effect snow showers. And regarding snowfall for today, we're going to see trace of 2 inches, 2 to 4 as we head up north, and 4 to 8 in the hilltops in the High Peaks region, but don't expect this to stick around as that rain will bring all that snow to an end. And so for today, high of 38, mostly cloudy. The peaks of sunshine already starting to arrive tonight. Rain and wet snow, windy conditions, a low of 35 degrees. Your 7-day forecast. Alert night for tonight into early tomorrow, then breezy and windy for Saturday afternoon. Lake effect snow on the stronger side north of our area near Watertown on Sunday. Gary?
Eric, and just as we are, so too are millions of. Welcome back. If you have tickets to the Bills' big playoff game this Sunday in Orchard Park, be prepared as a major snowstorm may play a role not only in the game, but in people's plans to get there. Meteorologist Eric Gage is tracking the system, and Eric, you were mentioning this is the same system that's bringing us weather tonight, right?
Yeah, that's right. The backside of this low pressure will be causing some lake effect, and not primarily in our local area, but downwind of the Great Lakes, obviously in Buffalo and Watertown. And let's just take a look at how much snow this area could be seeing heading into Sunday and into early Monday. And we're talking about between 8 even 24 inches of snow, depending on the location of that snow band. So if you were planning on traveling out to the game, I'm not too sure if it might be relocated at all, but for now, if the game is still held there, expect a very snowy Buffalo playoff game, of course, against the Steelers. I know that some of the people who were Steelers fans driving up from Pittsburgh might also have to deal with that as well. Another question we've been asked was if we can showcase more locations on the map. And this is what happens when we put almost every town here in central New York on the map. So you can see how pretty disorganized it gets. So this is why we kind of stick to locations that are more notable, that aren't clogging the map with too much information, so we can kind of showcase things behind the text. But here's what it looks like right now. Quiet conditions on the radar, and of course sunshine peeking out for the most part here in the local area in Oneonta. And for today, again, started out with some clouds and some drizzle and some snow. We are seeing some sunshine this afternoon. After this, though, we are talking about active weather in the terms of wet snow, rain, and wind as we approach the overnight hours. Looking for that full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Pope Francis was unable to complete.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon. Happy Friday. The weekend is finally here, and it's been a pretty active week weather-wise. And for today, it's pretty pleasant out, actually, with some sunshine peeking out and temperatures nearing 40 in some valley locations. Currently, it is 37 degrees at Griffiths and Rome with a decent easterly wind. So it feels like 32 out, but that sun in some locations is definitely a welcome thing in the sky. Regarding those temperatures for today, we're going to be staying in the upper 30s, even low 40s some locations, until around 3-4 p.m., cooling down a little bit as we approach sunset. But we'll still remain relatively above freezing. Of course, in the valley, it'll be cooler as you head up in the higher elevations north. Regarding wind speeds, winds will remain relatively breezy, but not too bad until the overnight hours. As you can see here, wind speeds approaching 20 miles per hour, gusts between 35 and 55 miles per hour. And lastly, talking about when the precipitation starts to fall, looking dry until your evening commute, even 7, 8 p.m., iffy on some rain or snow starting, but between 9 and 11 is the best chance of seeing that wet snow and rain start to fall. And so again, our timeline, no issues are expected for your evening commute. Wet snow, rain in lower elevations will begin to arrive later tonight. Then it switches all over to wet snow by about after midnight or so, then back over to rain. And of course, those gusty winds will be present pretty much for the 11 p.m. hour onward. And again, you can see here the absolute wind speeds. Wind gusts between 35 and 55 miles per hour. Could be a chance for additional outages and wind damage, although the winds are not going to be nearly as strong as the system that passed us this past Tuesday. Radar and the bigger picture on the radar, we're seeing this system starting to push into the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. And the track of this system will follow something very similar to Tuesday, a very strong low pressure pushing north and east, and we're on the warm side of this. So it starts out as rain and wet snow, then over to all wet snow, and then back over to rain to wrap things up. Radar looking quiet right now, but again, that will change during the overnight hours. So increasing clouds this evening, temperatures still hovering right around freezing in the Mohawk Valley. So again, this could start out as rain in the lowest elevations. Then over to wet snow by around midnight. Then finally turning things over to all rain as we approach the early morning on Saturday. And regarding snowfall, trace of 2 inches in the southern valleys and I-90 around that lower elevation area. 2 to 4 north, 4 to 8 inches in the high peaks. But again, don't expect this to accumulate with the rain following right behind. For today, high of 38, mostly cloudy with those peaks of sunshine already starting to form. Tonight, a low of 35 with rain and wet snow and windy conditions. 7-day forecast. Things wind down Saturday morning, but still the winds will remain with some lingering lake effect snow. Strong lake effect out in Buffalo and Watertown on Sunday. Gary?
Good luck getting to that game on Sunday.
A little snowy out there.
Yeah. Go Bills, though. Well, as the clock ticks down right
Sun Palace.
Thanks for joining us on this Friday. Another weather system that is showing very similar attributes to what we saw on Tuesday. We're talking about again tonight.
That's right, and that brings the possibility of some power outages too. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis tracking the latest from the Weather Center.
And like Tuesday night, our primary concern is potential damaging winds. We'll also see a burst of snow on the front end, although it's warmer tonight ahead of this next weather maker, so it will mix in with rain in the lower elevations sooner. Let's take a look at our alert day headlines. Again, starting out as a rain-snow mix, changing over to rain overnight. Damaging winds are possible as we head into tonight. We think the strongest winds happen after 11 p.m., lasting through 5 a.m. And one difference between this storm and the one on Tuesday night is the colder weather to follow as we head into the weekend. So live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Precipitation beginning to the west. That'll be moving into our area tonight. This is a live look in downtown Utica, temperature of 37. Things look pretty quiet here for the next couple of hours, although the winds will be picking up over the next several hours as, again, we're expecting some strong winds overnight. We'll take a look at that weekend forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. We continue to follow the breaking news that we first told you about on the Live at 5 News Hour as 3 people were attacked by a fox in the city of Rome, and the Oneida County Health Department warning that it
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. Winds are expected to pick up this evening, becoming strong tonight and continuing through the weekend. Let's take a live look in Cooperstown. Temperatures have been above freezing today, so a lot of this snow that was still on the ground has been in the process of melting. It will remain above freezing in the lower elevations as our next round of precipitation arrives. Looking to start out as a mix between rain and snow in the lower elevations and mainly a wet snow in the higher spots. The precipitation is on the way. We can see it approaching western New York. And the timeline here is it starts out between 9 to 11 p.m. Again, as a rain-snow mix in the lower elevations, turning over to rain after midnight. Strong winds possible between 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Wind gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour across the area. The rain ends early Saturday, but it's still windy as we head into Saturday afternoon. Let's take a look at how much the winds gust across the area tonight. Again, it peaks between 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Wind gusts between 40 to 50 miles an hour. As we get into Saturday morning, the winds turn into the west. Again, the stronger winds come in from the east. A cold front turns the wind into the west as we head into Saturday, but it's still gusty. 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts possible on Saturday as well as Sunday. So we will be dealing with this wind throughout the entire weekend as colder weather arrives. 38 degrees in Whitesboro, 30 in Inlet, Middleville 37, Cooperstown 38. Again, most places above freezing at this hour. Strong area of low pressure works in from the west. Because it moves to our west, again, it causes that warmer air to arrive. Before that changeover to all rain takes place, we do pick up some snowfall north of the Mohawk Valley, 2 to 4 inches of accumulation, 4 to 8 inches possible in the Adirondacks. Again, that changeover taking place later in the higher elevations. Again, precipitation breaking out 9 to 11 a.m. It turns to all rain after midnight. As we head into Saturday morning, temperatures start out in the 40s, 42 degrees at 7 a.m. in Utica. Throughout the day, as colder air works in, temperatures will fall. We'll see a few scattered snow showers Saturday. Little accumulation is expected. Heavy lake effect snow looks to set up Saturday night and Sunday along a southwest wind, which favors the North Country and western New York. In fact, just south of Buffalo, expecting to see snowfall between 1 to 2 feet. So a very significant lake effect event happening just outside of our area. A mix between rain and snow tonight, low of 35. An early high tomorrow of 44. It turns breezy throughout the day with some scattered snow showers late. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. It gets cold in the wake of this storm, and it stays cold. A high of 28 on Sunday, some scattered snow showers. Monday looks partly sunny with temperature in the low 20s. And next week, no big snowfalls, but it's constant. We're seeing lake effect snow showers and some weaker weather systems move through. But the snow that we do get will be sticking around with some cold weather around.
Bill, thanks.
Coming up next on News Channel 2 at 6. Hey, we're going to be live at the
News Channel 2 at 10 on CW 11 with Jason Powers.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are in a Storm Tracker 2 alert mode tonight as snow, rain, and wind all expected to be involved in this latest weather system to hit our region. We have team coverage on this event. First, we want to start in the Weather Center with Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis. He is tracking it all right now, and those winds have picked up in the last hour or two.
They have. Low pressure is approaching. We've seen a spike in the wind. We've been watching wind gusts in western New York. Dunkirk, a 76-mile-an-hour wind gust just before 8 o'clock this evening. It's not going to be that strong locally, but it is a sign that this storm is coming in. And this is a look at some of the latest wind gusts across the area. Rome up to 35 miles an hour. So these are some of the strongest readings we've seen so far. And again, we do expect the winds to pick up as we head into the night tonight. We're also seeing rain begin to break out in the lower elevations. It's going to start out as snow in the higher spots, but I think a lot of the precipitation in the lower elevation will be a rain-snow mix, with most of this falling as rain tonight. Current temperature is 39 degrees at Griffiths and Rome, so still very warm out there tonight. We really haven't cooled off much. That east-southeast wind picking up. Tonight, a rain-wet-snow mix, windy conditions. Temperatures will gradually warm up as we head throughout tonight. We're starting out Saturday with temperatures in the 40s, but it gets much colder, and we're tracking that in some lake effect snow. And look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. This weekend's forecast means State Department of Transportation crews are preparing their equipment for the storm. Continuing our team coverage, News Channel 2's Ben Kinney spoke with the crews who are getting ready for the potential of more messy weather. He joins us now live in studio with the latest. Ben, good evening.
Jason, good evening. While the storm's impacts here in the Mohawk Valley aren't expected to be as significant as they are out west, crews at the Department of Transportation are getting ready just in case, while also lending a hand to those road crews in western New York. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. That's why State DOT has been busy preparing for the potential of messy weather this weekend. In fact, for them, preparation is a year-round effort.
The DOT prepares for winter all year, and we're always ready for whatever Mother Nature brings us. So just today, salt deliveries came to the salt barns. Salt trucks are being loaded. The mechanics are going through the equipment. Everyone's getting ready for whatever may happen this weekend. And other people are ready on shift in case more deployments need to happen as well.
Deployments in the form of manpower and equipment. 5 workers from the Mohawk Valley were sent to Buffalo ahead of this weekend storm to help crews there clean up.
Anytime resources are needed in another region, deployments happen. We are one DOT in New York State, so anytime another region needs equipment, operators, mechanics, whatever it is, we deploy. And in this case, we definitely deployed to Buffalo.
Those deployments don't affect the ability for the Mohawk Valley crews to keep the roads clear.
No, we always have adequate staff here before we deploy, and that's why they take, the deployments happen a little bit out of each region depending on what the needs are and who has what. For instance, we sent a snowblower to Buffalo. We still have adequate equipment to handle the Mohawk Valley.
There are ways that drivers can help DOT crews as well.
So the best thing people can do to help us during a storm situation like this in any area of the state is to slow down and give our crews the room to do our jobs, clear the roads, prepare the roads, salt brine the roads, whatever it takes for the current conditions, and please don't crowd the plow.
TN says drivers should never tailgate plows or go around plows on the road. The trucks have many blind spots that make it dangerous to do that. Live in the newsroom, Ben Kinney, News Channel 2. Jason?
Ben, thank you. The teen who shot a Proctor Security.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We're taking a live look in downtown Utica, where precipitation is starting out as rain tonight in the lower elevations with temperatures well above freezing. But it is starting out as snow in the higher elevations. This is a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. In addition to a rain-snow mix, we're also seeing wind. The latest wind gust out of Griffis and Rome, 35 miles an hour. The winds will be picking up tonight as a strong area of low pressure passes to our west. This is the progress of precipitation tonight. Again, the timeline here, that wintry mix is out there now. Strongest winds between now to about 5 o'clock in the morning. The rain ends early tomorrow. It's still windy Saturday afternoon. We're going to see wind gusts that are going to remain in the 40s on Saturday. Peak wind gusts tonight. Again, looking across the Mohawk Valley, the North Country, the Southern Valleys, somewhere between about 40 to 50 miles an hour. That's the strongest winds we're expecting overnight. And then the winds will start to back off. But they don't go away. It is going to be windy both Saturday and Sunday with wind gusts between about 30 to 40 miles an hour from the west. Low pressure swings through tonight. Again, ahead of it, it's mild enough for rain. Again, we'll see a brief burst of snow across the higher elevations, picking up about 2 to 4 inches of accumulation across the Adirondacks and North Country. But in the lower elevations, we're not expecting much. Again, that switch over to rain is complete after midnight. Temperatures will be in the low 40s first thing Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon, a switch over from rain showers to snow showers, but not much accumulation is expected. Temperatures will gradually fall throughout the day. It gets colder and windier throughout the afternoon. Saturday night, a burst of snow is expected after midnight, and the stage is set for pretty significant lake effect snow to the north and west of central New York. It's going to miss us, but it is going to be producing some locally heavy snowfall across northern New York towards Watertown and also western New York out towards Buffalo. If you're heading out to the Bills-Steelers game on Sunday afternoon, it looks like there could be some pretty heavy snowfall during that game, and it's going to be a challenge to get out there with pretty heavy snowfall along the New York State Thruway west of Rochester. Tonight, rain and wet snow, windy. Temperatures rise throughout tonight. We're into the low 40s early Saturday morning, and then temperatures will fall as we head throughout the day. And again, it remains windy. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Snow showers on Sunday. We're going to miss the brunt of lake effect snow. We're thinking there's going to be 1 to 2 feet of accumulation towards Watertown as well as Buffalo, and that's where the snow stays for most of the weekend. But we could see an occasional flurry or two from Lake Erie on Sunday, so we're not going to be completely dry. Monday looks dry, and this cold is going to settle in.
Let's face it, Western New York, Northern New York, they do measure snow in feet from time to time, so
Yes.
Not unexpected.
That's right.
All right, thank you, Bill. Coming up next, we're only 6 months away.
Watching News Channel 2 at 11 with Jason Powers.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are in Storm Tracker 2 alert mode tonight as snow, rain, wind, all expected to be involved with the latest weather system to hit our region. We have team coverage of this event. We're going to first start over in the Weather Center with Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis. He is tracking it all for us tonight. Winds are whipping. We can hear it here on Smith Hill. You're getting some high wind marks on your you're tracking right now.
Yes, I'm keeping an eye on a couple of things. The storm itself just got a new pressure reading. It's now down to 982 millibars off of Lake Michigan. So what that means is that the winds are coming in, and we're seeing wind gusts locally 35, 40 miles an hour. Still expecting wind gusts to peak at about 50 miles an hour, but everything is on track tonight as to where we're expecting. Let's take a look at wind gusts. The fastest wind gust in New York State was measured in Dunkirk, which is in western New York, 76 miles an hour. That happened at quarter to 8 this evening. And again, you can see current winds 36 miles an hour in Rome. Rain turning over to snow showers tonight, especially in higher elevations. We do expect that wintry mix to continue for the next couple of hours before turning over to rain again. Current temperature is 38 degrees, and tonight, again, that wintry mix. Raining as we head into Saturday morning as temperatures climb into the 40s. The strongest winds are around for the next several hours. They become lighter during the day tomorrow, but they don't go away. We're tracking windy and colder weather heading into the weekend. Look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. This weekend's forecast means for the second time this week, State Department of Transportation crews are preparing their equipment for the storm. We continue our team coverage now as News Channel 2's Ben Kinney spoke with crews who are getting ready for the potential of more messy weather. He joins us now live in studio with that. Ben, good evening.
Jason, good evening. While the storm's impacts here in the Mohawk Valley aren't expected to be nearly as significant as they are in other parts of the state, crews at the Department of Transportation are getting ready just in case, while also lending a hand to road crews out west. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. That's why State DOT has been busy preparing for the potential of messy weather this weekend. In fact, for them, preparation is a year-round effort.
The DOT prepares for winter all year, and we're always ready for whatever Mother Nature brings us. So just today, salt deliveries came to the salt barns. Salt trucks are being loaded. The mechanics are going through the equipment. Everyone's getting ready for whatever may happen this weekend. And other people are ready on shift in case more deployments need to happen as well.
Deployments in the form of manpower and equipment. 5 workers from the Mohawk Valley were sent to Buffalo ahead of this weekend's storm to help crews there clean up.
Anytime resources are needed in another region, deployments happen. We are one DOT in New York State, so anytime another region needs equipment, operators, mechanics, whatever it is, we deploy. And in this case, we definitely deployed to Buffalo.
Those deployments don't affect the ability for the Mohawk Valley crews to keep the roads clear.
No, we always have adequate staff here before we deploy, and that's why they take, the deployments happen a little bit out of each region, depending on what the needs are and who has what. For instance, we sent a snowblower to Buffalo. We still have adequate equipment to handle the Mohawk Valley.
There are ways that drivers can help DOT crews as well.
So the best thing people can do to help us during a storm situation like this in any area of the state is to slow down and give our crews the room to do our jobs, clear the roads, prepare the roads, salt brine the roads, whatever it takes for the current conditions, and please don't crowd the plow.
TN says drivers should never tailgate plows or go around plows on the road. The trucks have many blind spots that make it to do just that. Live in studio, Ben Kinney, News Channel 2. Jason?
Ben, thank you. The teen who shot a Proctor security guard outside of a football game back in September seemed
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We're taking a live look in downtown Utica, where precipitation has started out as rain, but it is expected to switch over to snow before going back over to rain here tonight. Yes, we've got a wintry mix. And this one, again, is not going to create a lot of snowfall for most of us, especially in the lower elevations. The wind is the bigger story. But let's take a look at the radar tonight. Again, showing the rain in the lower elevations with snow in the hilltops. Precipitation continues to approach from the west. This is going to pick up tonight, along with the winds. So the wind is going to pick up between 11 o'clock, well, right now, until 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when the winds will be strongest. We're thinking wind gusts between 40 to 50 miles an hour, and continues through about daybreak. The rain ends early tomorrow. It's still windy on Saturday, just not as windy as tonight. In fact, let's take a look at the winds across the area from the Mohawk Valley to the Southern Valleys to the North Country. Tonight, they peak between, again, say now and 5 o'clock in the morning, between 40 to 45 miles an hour, maybe even 50 miles an hour, which could cause some scattered power outages and tree damage. The winds drop back tomorrow morning, but look at this. It stays windy Saturday night or Saturday afternoon as well as Sunday afternoon. Winds are not quite as strong, but still 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. It's going to be a windy weekend for sure. Low pressure approaching from the west, and again, this is a deep area of low pressure as it moves across Lake Michigan tonight. Again, the front end does produce some snowfall in the higher elevations, thinking 2 to 4 inches north of the Mohawk Valley, 4 to 8 inches in the Adirondacks before it turns over to rain across the region late tonight. Storm Tracker 2 Skycast temperatures rise tonight. Will be in the low 40s to start out Saturday morning. Most of Saturday, relatively quiet. It'll be windy, but we're expecting just a few showers throughout the day. Rain showers turn over to snow showers in the afternoon. Not expecting much accumulation. Lake effect snow develops tomorrow night, especially north of the Mohawk Valley, where it falls heavy at times across northern New York and western New York. And Sunday's just looking to be a cold and breezy day. Again, heavy snowfall expected in northern New York and western New York. These areas out towards Buffalo and Watertown could pick up 1 to 2 feet of lake effect accumulation Saturday night into Sunday. But again, those bands generally stay north of the Mohawk Valley. Wintry mix to rain tonight. Temperatures rise. We'll start out in the low 40s Saturday morning, and then it cools off in the afternoon, and it remains windy. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Snow showers on Sunday, 28. Monday is looking dry, and it remains cold with some snow chances as we head into next week. Overnight lows in the teens. Jason.
Bill, thank you. That's going to do it for us. Up next, it's Sports Express.